Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's going to be going over the all-new Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV. Before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Mercedes-Benz of Salt Lake for giving me some time with this EQS. This particular one is still available for sale for the time being, so if you're interested, I'll include a link to their website in the description down below. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below as well. Let's get into it. Let's start off with the EV specs. We have a 120 kilowatt hour battery pack paired to a dual electric motor setup. Power outputs are 536 horsepower and then 633 pound-feet of torque, with the range being 285 miles. Now, starting with the hood design, you guys can see these kind of like softer lines throughout, and this one's all blacked out, which is pretty cool. And that blacked out theme continues with the headlights, and then you guys can see there is some obviously silver and chrome trim on the grille, and then there's a bunch of Mercedes logos all in the center, which looks pretty sweet overall. And then you guys can see with the trim here at the bottom. Putting it all together, you guys can see that Mercedes obviously emphasizes aerodynamic efficiency with this design. But anyways, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe, because I post content every single day. Now, coming on the side here, our tire wheel setup is 275, 45, 21 in the front and over in the rear. And then you guys can see with the design, you've got like the Mercedes logo there in the center with the star, and then it's pretty much closed off, obviously, for aerodynamic efficiency. Now, I've got these body painted fender flares. We have our EQS badge there, and then look at the silver trim with the windows, the door handles, and then at the bottom. And then here's your full side view with the EQS SUV. So here's our key fob. We have our lock function or unlock function, the opening here for the hatch, and well, pop her open. Now, being the S-Class of SUVs, this has quite a bit of cargo space in the back. We also have a built-in cargo cover. We have these controls here to fold down the seats. They also raise them up too, which is pretty cool. And then you guys can see we've got a little 12 volt here in the back as well. And then when you're all done, just press this button. It also has the foot wavy thing too, where you can put your foot under to close it. And capping things off, we've got the cool taillights here on the back end, obviously all the badges, parking sensors and all that. But let me know what you guys think about the overall design of this. Now, taking a look at the door panel here, you guys can see the two-tone coloration. We've got our handle here in the back, which is also pretty cool. All of our seat adjustments, and then look at this. That's fun. And then we've got the pillow headrests, and then look at the trim all down the center of the seat. That also looks really good. Now, here's legroom in the back. You guys can see we got a storage pocket here, and they got some vents, and then down below we got some USB action in the back, and of course we have our armrest here in the back. And then when it comes to headroom, it's good, and it looks like there's a pretty big sunroof above me. Now, taking a look at the door panel, you can see again with the two-tone design, we've got all of our seat adjustments here, heated and cooled seats. You've got your memory seat function, all of our window controls here, and then the mirrors, they do power fold in. And then we also have blind spot monitoring with them. And then here's the front seat. You can see perforated all down the center portion. You get your lumbar there on the side. Light controls right here, and then look at the trim. It's pretty cool. Now, here is the steering wheel. We've got really nice trim all around. Paddle shifters here on the back for the regen. Controls here for the center infotainment screen. Volume voice command controls. This is your adaptive cruise control, and then these are the controls there for the gauge cluster. And then you got your turn signal stock, and then your windshield wiper stock. So here's the center gauge cluster. I think the overall design looks pretty cool, and there's all these different like things you can pop up here at the gauge itself. So it's super customizable overall. I think we'll do a classic. I know it might be boring, but I think it looks good. Now, this comes with a 360 camera system, so you can see it of like every single angle here with the EQS. And then as for the rest of the infotainment system, so first off, got the climate control stuff. It's a huge screen. We also have a side screen. It's kind of crazy. But response time with this massive screen is really good. And being an S-Class, you guys can see we've got seat kinetics here. You got your ambient lighting as well. And of course, it says seat heating. But you also have cooled seats, so it's kind of interesting that they call it seat heating. But anyways, outside of that, it's a good infotainment system. And, ooh, look at that paneling right there. That looks pretty cool. And then we've got a wireless phone charging pad with some USB action, some cup holders here in the center. And then this is kind of like a little control pad. So you got your engine stop start here. You got your volume control. Looks like that's a fingerprint. Yeah, fingerprint sensor. I was exactly right. But anyways, you can see we've got the different drive modes here. We actually have an off-road mode there as well, which is kind of crazy. And then pretty cool center console behind it. It's interesting with all the different like materials inside here. And then look at the dash, and then also the vent that goes around. And pop this open, lined with felts. Good storage in there on top of that. And then I guess we'll cap things off at the top. So you got the control here for the sunroof. It's like a double sunroof situation. So here's our window sticker for this EQS 580. You can see the standard equipment. Here's a better look at it. With it. Base MSRP here, and then total MSRP, $127,950. Let's see how it drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before you set off. Here's your visibility over the hood. Both of the mirrors, do blind spot monitoring, and throughout the rest of the rear. And, well, let us set off. I'm trying to just change it. Okay. I thought anyways. Okay, let's officially set off here. I guess I don't know how to drive cars anymore. So, this is the Ben Hardy EQ day. This is my 4th EQ review in a single day, driving all of these EQ cars back to back. So I drove the EQE sedan, then I drove the EQS sedan, and then I drove the EQE SUV, and now we're in the EQS SUV. That's lots of E's, lots of Q's, and some S's in the mix. So here's the deal. What I have discovered is the EQE sedan and the EQS sedan are basically the same car. Like, the S is a little bit bigger, obviously, because it's the S-Class version, but like the interior looks completely identical. And on top of the interior looking pretty much identical, the actual driving experience, it's a little bit different, but it's not that much different. And the exterior styling is, on these EQ cars, they all pretty much look the same. And so, we'll talk about how this one drives, but I'm going to come to a conclusion on these EQ cars. So this is really smooth. It's definitely more comfortable than the EQE, just like the EQS sedan was more comfortable than the EQE sedan. Again, it's a slightly bigger car. It makes sense. But aside from the whole comfort side of things, what I will say is that it just drives really, it does drive really well. And this is what I've been saying in these reviews, is all of these EQ cars, they're so comfortable. The turning on them is super sharp. Like, it has all of Mercedes' amazing driving characteristics. It really does. And on top of being really comfortable and all of that fun stuff, look at this. It's super quick. Like, the acceleration's crazy. I mean, it's fully electric, got tons of power. So I don't know when I'm going to post this review in relation to the other EQ reviews, but here is my, like, summing things up with Mercedes EQ after reviewing every single EQ that they have outside the EQB today, which I've already reviewed the EQB. It's a B class, but it's electrified basically. So here's the deal. I think they nailed it with the interiors. This is a beautiful interior. Like, everything on this is just fantastic. It looks great, feels great, absolutely feels worth the money. The driving experience also absolutely fantastic. Like, Mercedes, good job. The styling. That's the problem, is, first off, these should not all look the same, right? There should be more distinction between the models, because, like, you know, I'm not like a huge, I've never owned a Mercedes in my life, and I'm not like I wouldn't consider myself a Mercedes connoisseur. I've reviewed the cars for a couple of years now, but like, I can, you know, even outside of reviewing them, I can still tell the difference between the different models. But with these EQ cars, it's honestly not so straightforward. What honestly ends up happening is, okay, for example, there's an EQS, and but that looks like an EQE. Like, they look the same to me. They all look, I mean, the taillights are a little bit different, so you can kind of tell the difference in the taillights, but like, I can tell the difference between a GLC and a GLE just like that. Like, it's super easy for me. And I feel like most people that aren't familiar with the Mercedes brand would be able to do the same thing. So yeah, I think that Mercedes should change the styling so they're more distinctive. And I mean, this is just my personal opinion. You guys can let me know if you agree or disagree. I think that Mercedes should ditch the whole aerodynamic efficiency talk, and they should focus on making these cars beautiful, because that's what Mercedes is known for. I mean, look at this. Beautiful. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay, that's an EQ car. But like the S-Class, like, Mercedes is so good at styling cars, and for some reason they decided to just make this engineered aerodynamic thing, and it drives great, but like, yeah, I don't know. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think about Mercedes EQ lineup, but I think that they made an amazing driving car. They just should change the looks.